Alrighty, so as you guys are getting started on this worksheet for today, a couple of these things you should be able to identify pretty easily. Hopefully you remember your atomic number is going to be the same as my number of protons. It is not the same as electrons anymore, okay? Because remember, our electrons are going to change. Also, a couple other things you should note. In the name, you have your element name and then you have the mass. For chemist shorthand, remember you have your element symbol. We now have charge up there to the top right, and then our mass is still at the upper left. Okay? To solve for your mass, again, reminder, it should be my protons plus my neutrons. So if we need to work backwards to get neutrons, you just take your mass minus your protons. Then to get electrons, you gotta look at the charge, okay? If the charge is 0, that means that my electrons equal my number of protons. If my charge is positive, that means that I need to lose that number of electrons from a neutral atom. If it is negative, that means I need to gain that number of electrons from a neutral atom. So each one of these I'm going to consider initially how many electrons I would have if it was neutral, and then I'm going to adjust by either gaining or losing electrons. All right, so I'm going to help you fill out these first few. So in the first one, we see that it is hydrogen-2, so we know that mass is 2. To solve for my protons, remember my protons is the same as my atomic number, so that one's a pretty easy one to fill in, that I should have 1 proton. Now the second row I see it is hydrogen-3, so I know my mass is 3. I know my atomic number for hydrogen is always 1, so I also have 1 proton. Now my neutrons, to calculate neutrons, I need to do mass minus atomic number, so 3 minus 1 gives me 2. Looking at my chemist shorthand, up top I do not see a positive or negative charge, so I know that it is neutral. And again, if it is equal to 0, you can see over here, that means that my number of electrons is equal to my number of protons. So I have 1 and 1. And then for my name, I'm just going to go H-3. All right, for sodium-22, it's pretty important that you look at a periodic table and find that sodium has an atomic number of 11, which is 11 protons. The mass is given to you already as sodium-22. So to get neutrons, I need to take 22 minus 11, which is also going to give me 11. Okay. Now to get charge, there's a couple different ways I can do this. I can take my protons minus my electrons. So to get charge, take protons minus electrons. 11 minus 10 gives me a positive 1. I really want to make sure that I'm not just writing 1 there. I need to specify whether it is a positive 1 or if it is a negative 1. Okay. All right, so I could have also looked at my chemist shorthand and saw that I had a plus up at the top. Sometimes you will see it denoted just as a plus or a +1. Typically, sometimes the 1 is not reiterated. All right, the next row, if you take a look, my atomic number is 12, so I know I have 12 protons. So I have to go to my periodic table, and I'm going to find out that that is magnesium. I already know my mass is 24. And then I need to go ahead and take a look at my charge. Again, I can consider protons. 12 minus 12 will give me a charge of 0. Okay. To get neutrons, mass minus protons, so 24 minus 12 gives me 12. Okay. So you're just going to keep working through each of these, continue to use what is given, and try to piece together what missing information is there. If you chose the option, the other option looks similar to this. So very, very similar to what you were doing on the other page. You need to look for sulfur 32. The symbol was S. We know 32 is our mass. We can calculate neutrons now by taking mass minus protons. So 32 minus 16 will give me 16. Sulfur has an atomic number of 16. Again, because my atomic number is the same as my number of protons. Or I could look at a periodic table And then to get my ionic charge, I want to do my protons minus my electrons. So I have 16 minus 18 will give me a -2. Okay. Ca is calcium, dash 40. Okay. The atomic number for calcium, either I can look at a periodic table or I see that I have 20 protons, so I know my atomic number is also 20. To get neutrons, I'm going to take my 40 minus my 20, mass minus protons. And then to get ionic charge, I need to take 20, which is my protons, minus my electrons, which is 18, and I'm going to get a +2. Okay. Lithium we know is Li. Atomic number is 3, so I have 3 protons. This time I don't have mass numbers, so I need to do protons plus neutrons. 3 plus 4 gives me 7. Now my charge is a +1, so that means I have 1 more proton than I do electron. So what's 1 more proton than electrons? Well, 3 is greater than my electrons by 1. Okay, so remember, if it's a positive charge, then I need to lose electrons. So some students like to actually go through and they'll put their electrons as 3. And then when it says +1, they say, okay, I got to do the opposite. Take 3 minus 1, and that's going to give them the 2. So it's up to you how you would like to do that. Very similar here for the -3. Since it's negative, that means I need to gain 3. Well, if nitrogen has an atomic number of 7, that means it usually has 7 protons and 7 electrons if it is neutral. Well, since I'm gaining 3 electrons, 7 plus 3 is going to give me my 10 then. Okay, and I can double check my charge by doing 7 minus 10, and guess what? I did get my -3. Okay, please make sure that you are checking your answer key to double check, make sure that all your numbers are correct, because this one is getting a little bit trickier with gaining and losing electrons.